core exit, which we're told has been banned in Great Britain for the last 10 years. Why? Because it's toxic to human beings. In the last month, the company has used, brace yourself, more than 700,000 gallons of this chemical, which is toxic to human beings. But it has never been used or tested in these quantities, which means experts literally have, again, no idea what the long-term effects this stuff could have on the region and the people.
An Exxon report some years ago showed that the core exit is actually 4 times more toxic than the crude oil itself.
Would you say that again?
And an Exxon report showed that the core exit dispersant was 4 times more toxic than crude oil itself.
That's the point that the EPA made. And I guess if you want to learn who's running the thing, you just listen to who makes the final decision. And in this case, BP made the final decision and told the EPA to stuff it.
He cares about the small people, and we care about the small people.
You just listen to who makes the final decision. And in this case, BP made the final decision and told the EPA to stuff it.
But that is not the case in BP. We care about the small people.
The people who work at BP who were coming to see her were only allowed to get Band-Aids and aspirin from her, and they were told that they only could go to the BP doctors if they wanted to get treated.
But now we know that about 1,000 barrels a day leaking from the actual well that's some 5,000 feet below the surface of the ocean.
And what is about to come ashore is much bigger than anyone thought. Late last night, the government said the BP well is spewing 5,000 barrels of crude into the Gulf each day, not 1,000 as first estimated.
A government panel investigating the BP oil spill has doubled its estimate of how much oil is gushing into the Gulf of Mexico. The flow rate technical group now says the leak is between 25,000 to 30,000 barrels of oil a day, more than 5 times BP's original estimate.
The latest estimate by scientists working on containment efforts has increased 50% from 20 to 40,000 barrels per day to approximately 35 to 60,000 barrels.
They are looking for evidence of several compounds, including hydrogen sulfide and volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, like benzene, which is commonly known as swamp gas. A normal level ranges from 5 to 10 parts per billion. At the Venice station on May 2nd, the levels recorded were 30 parts per billion. The next day, the reading was nearly 40 times that, at nearly 1,200 parts per billion. And the day after that, it dropped down to 46. Before rising the next day to more than 1,000.
We are not seeing huge elevations in toxins in the air or in the water.
And the day after that, it dropped down to 46, before rising the next day to more than 1,000.
When we tried to reach the beach, seen here and covered in oil, a boat of BP contractors with 2 Coast Guard officers on board told us to turn around under threat of arrest.
This is BP, not ours.
BP executives claim they have thousands of workers on the Gulf Coast to clean up the oil. Reporters tell us they haven't seen much evidence of that, and they've looked hard.
Chef, Elmer's Island has been pretty much sealed off by BP. The one road leading onto it blocked, anyone trying to get an up-close look intercepted by BP contractors. We wanted to ask those who've been contracted to do the cleanup work how they think it's going, but no one wanted to talk.
I appreciate it. I mean, I know I'm not allowed to talk to these guys, so I'm not.
Really interesting to watch you sitting there as you were setting up and somebody came up to you off camera and said, you know, what are you doing here? Does that happen to you a lot?
It happens all the time. In fact, there were several people who've come by and asked us what we're doing here and asking us not to talk to any of the workers here, and they're just very curious, and I guess it's their job to prevent all these people from talking to the press.
The state of Louisiana is building it to prevent oil from moving farther inland. But now it's a battleground. Federal officials say the spot this dredging barge is taking sediment from is potentially eroding what remains of the pre-existing barrier island. Governor Bobby Jindal says in the 5 to 7 days it'll take them to build a new pipeline, they could also build another mile of sand berm.
Now they talk about this hypothetical concern. What about the real damage that oil is going to do? It's supposed to be here Friday.
As the tar balls arrive with the tides, sickened oil spill workers are also making their way to shore for medical treatment. How many of those workers are they treating?
Well, you know, they started seeing a lot, especially when they started burning the oil. This particular facility has seen dozens of people. They're 2.5 hours away from the heart of the recovery phase of cleaning these beaches. So we have a main concern right now that we don't know all the facts exactly as to the toxicity levels that they're seeing in the field for, you know, for these workers, and hopefully what impact that toxicity is going to have in the communities that are being exposed to these chemicals.
No,
and let me tell you, you know, you can't lie on the beach right now. They're, you know, these areas, these beaches are called hot zones.
On our feet. He cares about the small people, and we care about the small people. I hear comments sometimes that large oil companies are greedy companies who don't care.
An Exxon report some years ago showed that the core exit is actually 4 times more toxic than the crude oil itself.
Would you say that again? You just listen to who makes the final decision, and in this case, BP made the final decision and told the EPA to stuff it.
That is not the case in BP. We care about the small people.